Sir, we can able to see.
Okay. Okay, so in today's session, we'll try to focus on how to create a Fiori project by using SAP Fiori worklist template. We'll focus on this and we'll try to understand what are the different types of files that are generated. We'll try to create SAP Fiori like application using SAP Fiori worklist template. And we'll try to understand how to create SAP Fiori like app using SAP Fiori master detail template. And what are the files that are generated by using these two different templates that we'll try to understand. So first here, our worklist template, whether it is worklist template or master detail template, first step is you need to collect OData service details. You can collect OData service details from SCGWT code. For example, OData service name which you want to consume and OData service fields, OData service entity set. So this is basically step one. Before you start creating your Fiori project, you should know what is service name, what are the list of fields, and what is the entity set name. So how to create OData service, we are going to discuss when we start OData development. In OData development, there will be 15 to 16 sessions. There we'll try to understand how to create OData service projects. But in today's session, we are going to use existing OData service. So I'll try to use Z8AM OData project SRV. And OData fields, we'll try to use these things. So this is the service, and these are the list of fields in that service. And there is entity set, that is EMP set. And please remember, inside this OData service implementation, OData service contains implementation of all database operations. So whichever service we are trying to access in the front end, that OData service already contains implementation of all types of database operations. So that means in today's session, we are trying to use existing OData service. In the coming days, we'll try to create OData service from scratch level, step by step. There will be 16 sessions that will be separate chapter in this course. You need not worry. But our intention in today's session is to create SAP Fiori like application by using a Fiori worklist template with the help of OData service. So as an example, I'm using this particular service. So here, what we can do is, inside OData service, what I've done is I've used a database table, for example, ZEMPDB table. And inside this table, there will be some collection of records. But from that table, I can fetch data by using OData service with the help of select query. So with the help of select query, the data will come to an entity set here. That is how, let me put it like this. So OData service in this case contains select query, which will bring the data to an entity set. That is EMP set in our case. So we are going to write database operations inside OData service. For example, in this case, select query. So that select query will bring data from database table to an entity set, that is EMP set. So this is how it looks like. From database table, the data will come to an entity set, that is EMP set in this case. So the data will reach entity set with the help of select query from database table. Now, whatever data that comes to an entity set, that data can be displayed in various different applications by using various different screen elements. So here, you can create a Fiori app using a worklist template here. And you can access OData service. You can create SAP Fiori app by using a master detail template. Or you can create a regular UI5 app. No one is using that, but anyhow, you can use OData service inside SAP UI5 application as well as a .NET PHP application. So this OData service can be accessed in Fiori app with worklist template, Fiori app in master detail template, a regular UI5 app, or a .NET PHP application. So here, the data can come to a Fiori-like app with worklist template, Fiori-like app with master detail template, or it can be a regular UI5 app, similarly .NET PHP third-party application. So once the data comes from database table to an entity set, that entity set data can be projected to various different applications here. Because OData service is always an independent service. OData service can be accessed in various different applications because it's a reusable OData service. It's an independent of the front end. So from entity set, we can take the data to various different applications here. It can be worklist app, master detail app, or a UI5 app, or a third-party .NET PHP application. And in various different applications, we can use various different screen elements, like we can display data in list, table, chart, microchart, etc. Here also, we can display data in list, tables, charts, microcharts, multi-combo box, multi-input, tokenizer, etc. Here also we can display data under tables and charts. In .NET PHP apps, there you will find list, table, again charts, etc. Forms. So the point here is database table data will reach entity set with the help of OData service by executing select query. From entity set, we can take the data to any different type of application here by consuming that service. So this is a basic data flow from SAP backend tables to front-end applications via OData service. This is a data flow from backend database tables to the front-end application via OData service. But when we go for other operations, we can insert data, delete data, update data. That also we can do it in a reverse approach. That we'll do it in the coming days. So I've decided to use this particular service, and these are the list of fields, and this is an entity set. So please remember, entity set holds data at runtime. That means it holds collection of records at runtime. When OData service executes select query, entity set holds collection of records at runtime when OData service executes select query. Entity set can be used in front-end application, in any front-end application, for displaying collection of records. Entity set can be used in any front-end app in order to display collection of records. Why? Because entity set holds collection of records at runtime when the select query is executed in OData service. So just remember this basic data flow. Now let us go back to our front-end creation, that is step 2. As an example, first try to use the same service for practice purpose. When we go for OData development, I'll be telling you how to create the service also from scratch level. No need to worry. So step 2 is, let us create SAP Fiori app using SAP Fiori worklist template by consuming that existing OData service. So that is, you can open SAP Web ID tool. Just you can start your Orion file. And minimize the window. And then you can use this URL. Okay, let me start this Orion file. So whenever you work on Web ID, make sure that this is up and running, but you should not close it. You should just minimize it. It should be up and running. Just minimize it. Then you can open Google Chrome. You can start your Web ID. So you can use this URL. Just log in here. So it starts Web ID. So it's a browser-based tool. We have installed locally. So that's the reason why this is localhost 8080 use this URL. Localhost, because we have installed WebID locally, 8080 is a default port number, and this is a normal path, webid/index.html. Now here you can see, by default you'll get this first time, welcome page. Just go to development workspace here. There is development workspace. And you'll get workspace folder by default. Just right click this workspace. Create new project from template. So here you can use this for creating application using a template. Basically, SAP Fiori, you can create an application through this template. You can create application using master detail template. You can create an application as a normal application like UI5 application. That's outdated, but still you can use it. So you can create a project from a template. These are the three options. Okay, let me write this. Shift to development workspace and just right click on workspace folder. Then select new project from template. So here you can see this. Now, first we'll try to go with worklist template here. So select SAP Fiori worklist template. Worklist template. Then you can click next. And provide project name. That 6:30 AM Fiori development project or Fiori project. Let me click next here. Now you need to access by consuming OData service. You need to create an application. At later point of time, you can also use n number of OData services. First time, you need to use one of the OData service. Basically, one application will use one OData service. But at later point of time, you can still violate this rule. You can consume multiple services. All those things you'll get an understanding in the coming days. So select, click next, provide project name. Next here, you can see service catalog, select EH7 that will connect to backend server. So once after providing backend details, if it is successful, then only list of OData services will be loaded here. You can see this. So select service catalog. H7. This is a service destination. Just let me write it one last time to make you understand, service destination for connecting to SAP backend server from SAP Web ID tool. That's the purpose of EH7 here. So provide SAP backend server username and password. I'll be sending it today to everyone all at once. Then the list of OData services are loaded here. One application by default access one OData service. If you want, you can violate that rule after creating a project. After creating the entire application through this template, we can also consume multiple services. That's a different topic we'll be discussing later. Now I want to search for Z8AM CRUD OData project SRV. So you can see here the project I want to access. That means it's a OData service project. So you can select here. Search for OData service. Let me copy the service name. And then select that OData service. Select it. Then you can click next here. If you want some details, you can get it here. Here you can see this is the OData service project. The status is running. It is coming from EH7. The type of service is OData and author is user H1. Last date and time upload updated. So you can get some details here. So here you can also get some list of entity types. Sorry, list of entity sets are also visible. And what are the list of fields of that are also available here. So what is a key field, what are the list of fields, what are the list of entity sets, so that you can see it here. So you can see that. Okay, let us stick to this. In your case, just select the name of the OData service here. Search for this service and select that service. That's it. If you want more details, you can click on details. You'll get some right side section to get the details. From EH7, we are trying to access this service. Okay, now you can click next here. So here you need to configure some details like title, description, namespace, and by default, one table will be created in first screen when you run the app. For that table, you need to configure entity set. Okay, so as of now, just let me provide some details like title, namespace, description. Example, SAP Fiori app. Namespace, let me provide, for example, Oasis. Should not use uppercase here. Don't use uppercase letters and don't use SAP. Use any namespace For example, Oasis, but it should be always in lowercase letters. Description can be anything. Title, let me provide SAP Fiori app. Description also same, but here you can see namespace. If I use SAP, for example, in uppercase, so it's not accepting, it is saying invalid. So you can see this. Namespace must be always in lowercase and it should be other than SAP. SAP also should not be used because it's a reserved namespace. You should use other than SAP, and that too it should be in lowercase. For example, let me make it Oasis here. Be careful. And then here you need to provide some data bindings. Why? Because by default a table is created like this. By default 2 pages will be created. In first page a table will be generated automatically. Of course, if you want to delete that table, you can delete at later point of time. You can make any change. You can add more features, etc. But initially the application tends to create a table in first screen by default for worklist template. So you need to collect data from which entity set, that you need to configure here. I want to collect data from EMP set, that is entity set. And it contains some list of fields so that you can configure. For example, user ID, first name, salary, country, something like that. Okay, so let me take this. So when you create an application with worklist template, so in first screen by default a table will be created, something like this. For that table we need to maintain data bindings here. We need to collect data from which entity set, that you need to provide. This is entity set of OData service. This is to collect data from backend and display data in front end. What's the purpose of entity set? The purpose of entity set is to collect data from backend and display data in the front end. Very simple. We are configuring entity set, that is EMP set. The purpose is just to collect data from backend and display data in the front end. Why? Because OData service, as I told you, it contains select query. And these are the OData fields of that particular service. This is like OData field 1, OData field 2, OData field 3, etc. So these are the list of OData fields here. So this is entity set and these are OData fields. So you can expect like this. So based on this configuration, by default a table will be created. Based on this configuration, by default a table is created in first screen. By default, table screen element is created with this configuration, and that is created in first screen output. Let me make it here. This also, most of the people will make mistake. Let me make it like this as lowercase. This is like maintain data bindings. Okay, let me write it here. Maintain data bindings. First thing is object collection. Object collection. That is EMP set. There will be a drop down. From that drop down, you can select EMP set. That is technically an entity set. And just configure object ID, collection ID. Nothing but data related ID. So here we are selecting user ID. That's nothing but OData field 1. So here you can configure object title. For object title, let me make it like first name OData field. That's the second OData field. And configure object numeric field. Numeric field, let me use one of the field, that is salary field in OData service. And here there is unit of measure. So let me use, for example, country is one of the field. So this, based on this configuration, the default table is created in first screen output. First one is entity set. The remaining 4 options are OData fields. Now you can click next and then finish. So this is the basic procedure to create an application through worklist template. So you can click next here and you can click finish. Now you can see a project is created and collection of folders and files are generated here. Some collection of files and folders, they are auto generated here with that particular template. So day by day, you will understand how to use these different files, the syntax, etc. We are going to build an application through this template, through this project. But initially, when you create an application through template, by default, you'll get 2 screens here. Let me run this. That is, you can just simply select project folder, click on run. Testing the application, you can select project folder and click on run here. So before writing the code, first let me run this to understand what exactly template has done. So here you'll get login screen for connecting to backend. The backend connection is success. You'll get the initial output. This is not the final output. This is just the basic output of worklist template. Don't think this is a final application. This is just beginning of developing an end-to-end application. So this is a first screen. In first screen, you can see some list of records are displayed here coming from backend through OData service. If I select a record here, then it goes to the second screen. So there are 2 screens by default created here. This is like screen 1 and screen 2, like page 1, page 2. So worklist template by default creates 2 screens. One is worklist view, another is object view. Worklist view by default displays all records in a default table. On selecting a record, it displays the second screen, that is object view. Okay, so here, let me write a simple note. SAP Fiori, like SAP Fiori worklist application, by default, two views or two screens are auto-generated. One is like worklist view, another is object view. So worklist view is your first screen. Object view is second screen. In real time also it will be same. For this template, for worklist template, this is the default option. Worklist view as first screen, object view as second screen. So two screens are generated, and there is a navigation from first screen to second screen to first screen, that is also generated. And list of files, folders are also generated so that you can build up an application by using this template. Two screens are generated, and several files and folders are also generated so that you can kickstart your application development through these files. If you want, you can create multiple other views. You can create third screen, fourth screen, that's also possible. We are going to do that. So here, to make you understand, let me just so basically what is happening is, from database table, data is coming to entity set with the help of OData service select query. From entity set, the data is coming to Fiori application. But on top of this, we can do many more things. This is just the beginning of creating an application. So here, you can see something like worklist_view.xml. It's generated here, and object_view.xml. These are the two important files for this template. And for worklist view, there is worklist controller. For object view, there is object controller. So two views are generated here. For each view, there is a separate controller here. And not only that, not only views and controllers, there will be properties file. These are common files: metadata.xml file, formatted.js file, and manifest.json file. Similarly, component.js file. So the point here is, all different types of files and folders are generated here when you create an application through template. On top of this, we can add some more new views. When you create views, controllers are also generated automatically. So as of now, I can say these are the list of files auto-generated for SAP Fiori for an application which is created with SAP Fiori worklist template. List of files auto-generated for an application which is created using SAP Fiori worklist template. Okay, let me save this. We are going to add our own coding. We are going to develop end-to-end application by adding all database operations, all features in front end, back end, etc. And we are going to utilize all these files one by one in different sessions. So these are the basic things that you need to know. These are auto-generated files for SAP Fiori worklist template. And when you run the app initially, this is how the output looks like. Basically, it should load this launchpad. From this launchpad, if you click on that box, tile box, it loads your application. This is our first screen. On selecting record in first screen, it goes to second screen. And there is a back option to go to first screen. So you can see this. So this is technically like a launchpad preview. In launchpad preview, if you select a tile box, it opens your actual application screen. Screen 1, then screen 2. And there is a navigation from screen 1 to screen 2.
Unmuted.
So don't take this output so seriously, because we are going to develop our own application as we like by using these files. If you have any doubt, you can ask me at the end of the session. I'll clarify. Okay, so here, let me write this. The list of files auto-generated for SAP Fiori worklist template. So let me write those names. Like one is worklist view .xml file. Then object view.xml file. For each view, there will be a separate controller. So worklist view contains worklist controller.js file. Let me make it like this. For each view.xml file, there will be a JS file also. For worklist view, there is worklist controller. For object view, there will be object controller file. That's how it is auto-generated. And if you want, you can create third view, for example. If you want, you can create some more views. For example, third view.xml file. Of course, we are going to do it. And for third view, there will be third controller.js file. That's how it is auto-generated. Like that, you can create a number of views. For example, fourth view.xml file. When you create a view, automatically controller will be generated. That's a basic pattern. Whether you use it or not, but for every view, a separate controller is generated. Okay, not only that, not only views and controllers, there will be some global files. There will be some global files like manifest file, component.js file, properties file, all those things will be available. Formatter.js file, that's a global file. Formatter.js file, that's a global file for formatter functions. Similarly, there are other global files like metadata.xml file. And then there is component.js file. And manifest.json file. Similarly, i1a10.properties file. And if you want, you can add styleclass.css file. You can add some CSS files. So these are the files that will be available for most of the Fiori applications. When you create an application through template, especially for worklist template, you will be able to see all these files. The last 6 files, these are global files for the entire app. Formatter file, metadata.xml file, component file, manifest file, I1A10 properties file, style class CSS file. These are global files. And these are views, and for those views, there will be controllers. So for each view, technically, what is view here? View is technically screen. Please remember that. Or you can call it as a web page. So view is nothing but a screen, or you can simply call it as a web page. And not only that, I can say each view is technically associated with controller. It's a separate controller. Each view is technically associated with separate controller. So just remember this basics here. Now say suppose if I create an application through master detail template. Let me do that. For example, I want to create application through master detail template. Again, for that template, you will have different type of output. Okay, first let me run this and take the screens. This is a different tab. Okay, so here, this is our first page. This is technically the work list view, or you can call it as a first screen in simple words. The technical words are important. Work list view. As first screen. On selecting record, it goes to second screen. So this is object view. This is technically object view. It's simply second screen. Object view is technically second screen. These are just initial screens. We are going to build end-to-end application on top of this. Adding more screens, adding more controllers, adding different features in the front end and in the back end, all those things will happen. Object view as second screen. Now, what happens when you create an application through master detail template? Let us understand here. So you can right click, create project from template. Now let me select master detail template here. I'm selecting master detail template this time. Click next. And you can provide project name. You can click next. And again, for that project, you should have OData service. So let me select EH7 for connecting to that backend SAP server. So services are displayed. Let me search for one of the service. This one. And let me click next here. Again, the same story. Here you'll get some options. Title, namespace, description, and here also data binding. In data binding, here also you can select entity set, some fields, field 1, field 2, field 3, something like this. User ID, first name, salary, country, etc. These are just initial data bindings. Don't take so seriously. We can remove these bindings at later point of time. But initially, when you create an application through master detail template, it will ask you to provide some basic configuration steps here. So again, here you can select next and then finish. Same procedure for master detail template also. Now, but when you run the output, the files are also different. The output point of view, it is different. Here you can see there is master view, there is details view. Master view, details view. The view names will change here. And controllers, master view contains master controller, details view contains detail controller. So view names are changing, master view, detail view, master controller, detail controller. But there will be other files like properties file, metadata.xml file, formatter file, and you can see component file, manifest file. These are generic files. Every application contains these generic files. Okay, so here you can see there is master view.xml file. These are two important files. Detail view.xml file, and then there is master controller. For detail view, there is a detail controller. And these are generic files, properties file, metadata.xml file, formatter file, and you can see component file, manifest.json file. This is manifest file, manifest.json file, very important file. Let me write it here. All this list of files will be auto-generated for an application which is created through master detail template here. Write it. List of files auto-generated for an application which is created with SAP Fiori master detail template. These are the list of files that are auto-generated for an application which is created through master detail template. So whatever may be the template, the programming wise, it remains same. The syntax, programming, architecture, that will be same. Only output point of view, the screens will vary. Output screens behavior may vary, but the way you write the code for these templates remains same. Coding, syntax, architecture, approach, consumption of OData, creation of views, everything remains same. Output point of view, there is slight difference. Let me show that. Okay, these are auto-generated files for SAP Fiori master details template. Okay, let me run this. How exactly the output looks like before we proceed. Select the project and run. So now you can see there is one page with two views basically that will be loaded here. Okay, let me run it again. Okay, you can see here one view with one screen with two views are loaded. Left side, this is a master view content. Right side, you'll get detail view content. On selecting left side, right side, the content will change basically. You can see if I select Satish, you'll get Satish right side. If I select Varun, you'll get Varun right side. So this is how the basic template output looks like for master detail. So left side, there is a master view content. Right side, there is a detail view content. We can improvise this. We can develop end-to-end app through this template also. So here, one page is loading two views. That's the reason why we are calling it as master detail view. Left side master view, right side detail view. This is also known as a split app template. Okay, so here, when you run this output, so you are having two views basically here. Left side master view content, and right side there is details view content here. So everything is loaded at once with left and right combination. Okay, for our convenience purpose, so let me remove this. Let me make it here. This is like master view. This is the left side view, and right side view, that is technically a details view. If you want, you can create other views as well. From details view, you can go to some other view, XYZ view. All those things are possible. We can apply navigation. We can apply data transfer. We can perform all types of database operations. Everything can be proceeded from here. But put it like this: master view, so left side content, details view, right side content. This is a default behavior when you create an application through master detail template. But if you closely observe, both are loaded as a single page. Left and right views, they are loaded in a single view or a single page. So this is a default behavior. But is this a final output? No, this is just a basic initial output when you create an application through a template. Some basic screens are created and some files and folders are also auto-generated so that you can kickstart your actual application development. So the development becomes easy. So that's one of the main advantage of using templates here. So here, this is like master details, master view, details view, output screens. Okay, so here let me write that. The list of files auto-generated for SAP Fiori master details template. So one is like master view.xml file. Then there is detail view.xml file. There is master controller.js file because every view contains a controller. Detail view contain detail controller.js file. For our understanding, let me make it uppercase. And if you want, you can create third view, fourth view, all those things are possible. And then there is global files like formatter.js file. These are global files. Metadata.xml file. It's a global file. Component.js file. In different examples, we'll use different files for different concepts. At right time, we'll be discussing in detail about each file. manifest.json file, that's also a global configuration file. i1a10.properties file. And then there is, if you want, you can add style class file. We're going to do that. So these are the global files which are written at the bottom. Last 6 files are global files. And don't forget, here also, view is nothing but a simple screen. You can call it as a web page. And don't forget, each view is technically associated with controller. Each view is technically associated with a separate controller here. And please remember, when you run this master detail application, you'll get left and right combination here. You'll get left and right combination. So that's the reason why we call it a split app template here. SAP Fiori master detail template is also known as SAP Fiori split app template. Please remember that. That's an alternative word. Because one screen contains 2 pages or 2 views, left side master, right side details. So it's a left and right combination. That's the reason why we are calling it a split app template. One page with 2 views, left side master view, right side details view. So it's a split app template. But in case of worklist template is also known as SAP Fiori full screen template. Full screen template. Why? Because each view is a separate page. Why? Because in worklist template, each view is a full screen page. That's the reason why we are calling it as full screen template. Here you can see, when you run this worklist application, so these are 2 separate views. So each view is a full screen page. Each view is a full screen page. So we are calling it as full screen template here. So these are basic things that you need to understand at this level. Now what we are going to do is we are going to develop the application now. But before we develop the application, you need to understand some XML syntax here. Okay, that syntax we can discuss tomorrow. But here you can see, for example, if I go to something like a worklist view, for example, for worklist view, you can see there is some auto-generated code here. For worklist view, there is some auto-generated code here. You can notice that. But how to start? We are going to do it from next session. But here you can see, by default, there is a top section for every view that is for registering the libraries. This is the top section for registering the libraries, and there is a full screen page here along with semantic content, and by default a table is available here. If you want, you can write your code here. So let me just put it a separate screenshot. So this is like worklist view.xml file. Here there is a top section. Top section, it is for registering the library. Okay, this is a top section. Here, this is for registering the libraries. How to do, what is the syntax we'll be discussing at right time tomorrow onwards. This is to register the libraries. And for all Fiori apps sap.m is a default library here. On top of that, we can add our own libraries as well. But default library for all SAP Fiori apps is a base library, that is sap.m library. And here you can see there is a full screen page. Full screen page contains content area. Full screen page, and it contains content section here. You can notice this. So inside content section, the content block, inside content section, you can add your screen elements according to requirement. The content area, inside content area, here we can implement XML code, very simple code for creating screen elements. That is what we do here. With table, drop down, checkbox, radio button, tokenizer, breadcrumbs, charts, micro charts, multi combo box, multi input. You can create any screen element here. So here we are going to implement XML code for creating the screen elements. Inside content section. By default, a table is available, but we can modify this table, we can delete this table, we can improvise this table. Or else we can write our own code for creating our own screen elements. Okay, so just remember this. This is like work list view. Default code pattern, something like that. Now, say suppose if I go to object view. Object view also contains the same thing. There's a top section for registering the libraries here. There is full screen page. Full screen page contains content area. Inside content area, you can write your code. Inside content area, you can write your own code. By default, there is some object header, but you can write your own code. Okay, let me just put it here. For example, there is object view, whatever it may be. So it contains top section here, that is for registering the libraries. Top section, this is to register the required libraries. Any view, any template, but top section is for registering the libraries. Master detail view or worklist view, but every view basically contains top section for registering the libraries. Register libraries here. And here also you can see default is base library, that is sap.m. And here you can see there is a full screen page. You can, if you scroll down, you'll get the entire content. There's a full screen page, and full screen page internally contains content section here. It contains content section. And inside content section, you can see there is, here you can write your own code. Inside content block, here you can implement your XML code for creating screen elements. Table, list, chart, microchart, multi-combo box, breadcrumbs, etc. So that's how we are going to proceed further. In the process of writing the code, you'll also understand all these syntaxes, how exactly this is also generated. When we start from scratch level, day by day, you'll get more and more clarity. How this is used, how this syntax is used, XYZ syntax, everything you'll get more clarity. But this is a basic layout template for start writing the code inside these view.xml files. Okay, this is object view. Object view default code pattern. Okay, so here, let me just go with this one. For example, just as an example, here, if I write the code, you can see I'm using text screen element. For example, some text I'm providing here. Text screen element, text property, and some text. Text screen element, text property, and we are providing some text here. If you use control space, you'll get list of classes here. If you use control space, tomorrow I'll be explaining in detail, but here you can see while writing the code, if you use control space, you'll get list of classes mainly. You can see C indicates class. You can see C indicates class. Search field, select. You can see all those things. Slider, shell, switch, tab container, text screen element, token, tokenizer, toolbar. So these are all different classes for different screen elements, which I explained in the documentation. And if I go to properties, after using class name, if I use control space here, you'll get properties and events. For example, after adding class name, if I use control space here, then you'll get list of properties and events. P indicates property, E indicates event. P is property, E is event. So you'll get list of properties after adding class name if you use control space. So text is one of the property here. For that, you can add some text. Okay, just let me run this where it is reflected. Let me check here. So if I go to second screen, you can see there is some text that is displayed here. Welcome to Fiori app development. Some text is displayed here, but we'll try to put it in a proper order by using form concept. So suppose if I add one more screen element here, for example, input. Input contains value property. So here I can use some default value, something like this. Let me run it again. So now you can see there is an input field. After text screen element, there is an input screen element. So user can provide whatever screen elements he wants, something like this. So this is an input field. So this is how we are going to proceed, but we'll start with the syntax step by step in detail. Don't worry. So here, if you have any doubts, you can ask me at this level. You can unmute and speak.
Hello.
Now, who is this? That's name of the entity set here. It can be anything. In the backend, that is created as EMP set. EMP set means it can be XYZ here. It doesn't matter. Because in this service, there is one entity set which is collecting the data, that is EMP set. But different services may have different entity sets here.
And you use Z. Here is also compulsory Z and Y use in initial anywhere?
No, while creating Fiori project, there is no need to use Z. When the OData service is used, OData services, custom OData services will have Z or Y as a prefix.
But not for Fiori.
Standard, yeah, not for Fiori, it's not required. Only when you deploy the application, then it's required. So here, EMP set, that is an entity set name. It can be anything depending upon the service in which you have created. And you're talking about service name. For custom OData services, you will find Z or Y as a prefix. It's a backend SAP related, right? So in the front end Fiori apps means you need not follow Z or Y. No need to use Z or Y for project creation. project creation is not required. But when you deploy the application, to the server, ultimately application has to be deployed to server. As of now, we are testing everything locally here. We're testing everything, but we're testing locally. The data is coming from backend system, but the application is running locally here by getting data from remote server. So, but when you deploy the final application to the server, then Z or Y must be prefixed.
Okay.
For Fiori apps also. For project creation, it's not required. No need to have Z or Y for Fiori project creation.
Okay, my last question. What is the purpose, means meaning a purpose, this controller in the system?
So views, we are going to discuss that anyhow, but here, view, we are going to write with screen elements. In controller, we are going to use event handler functionalities.
This is a part of the MVC?
Yes, that we'll be discussing.
Okay,
and model is nothing but OData service with a database operations.
This is a part of the MVC.
Yes. So every Fiori app follows MVC architecture. What is MVC? We'll be discussing in detail. Just for clarifying your doubt, I'm writing here. Every Fiori app follows MVC architecture.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. My doubt is clear. Okay.
Yeah. Next doubt.
Yeah, I have one doubt. Like OData service means it will communicate with SAP database, right? Like suppose I'm using SAP HANA for SAP table like VBAK. I want the data from VBAK means OData will fetch from there, or how?
OData will fetch the data. Yes. So Fiori app connects to OData service. OData service executes database operation. Okay.
So it will connect to SAP by default.
It will connect to database tables.
VBAK table it will connect.
Yes, whatever tables you use in your select query or insert, delete, update. So those tables it will be communicated. So inside OData, we write database operation on those tables, whichever tables you want to use.
Okay. So OData will connect to SAP HANA if that is the already connection.
Yes. It can be S4 HANA, it can be ECC, or it can be anything. It all depends on your. It all depends on which system ID you're connecting here. Here, if I'm trying to use, for example, when you create and access OData service, so here it all depends on which system you're connecting. And so it all depends on which service you communicate in the further step.
Okay. So that mapping is there, like OData to SAP field mapping and OData to Fiori. All these mappings will be maintaining.
We are going to maintain data bindings.
Data bindings.
Okay. As a developer in front-end app, we maintain data binding. So that's a separate syntax we are going to discuss. Just to clarify doubt, I'm writing here. We are going to maintain data bindings with backend OData fields. While inserting data, deleting data, updating data, or even while fetching data, ultimately data binding plays an important role. Okay. So for example, here you can see in one of the screen, others you need not worry. So here there is one screen element. Here it is getting data with first name and salary. Here country is also used. First name is used, country is used. So it is getting data because of this data bindings. This is auto-generated code, but we are going to write our own code with a proper approach. Then you'll get more clarity. So screen elements in the front end can maintain data bindings here with the properties of the screen elements. So first name is a OData field in the backend. Country is a OData field in the backend. So data bindings will be maintained by developer when we start writing our code.
Okay. So first name is the field of the OData, and there will be some corresponding SAP HANA table and field will be there, right? That mapping
Yes,
will
of
be there.
course. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, next down. This is Srikanth. Yeah, next down.
I'm Manohar. So when we
Yeah,
go
Manohar.
for master data template, when we choose worklist template, is there any thumb rule?
Yeah, the point here is when you want to load multiple views in same page, then go for master view, master details template. If you want each view as a separate view or a separate screen, then go for worklist template.
Okay. So for example, if we first I develop worklist template, tomorrow customer wants master data template, can we go easily? Is there any possible
There
to
is
see?
no direct conversion. There is no direct conversion. You have to decide before start developing the application itself. Because when the requirement is given, they will provide what should be available in first screen, second screen, or how many screens should be loaded in one screen. So all those things will be provided prior to the development, right? So depending upon that, you have to choose a template.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Prior to the development itself, you should decide because you will get some mock-up screens, right?
Yeah.
So in
Yeah,
screen
yeah.
one, these are the fields. In screen two, these should be the fields. So based on that, you have to decide.
Okay. 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 Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Next down.
Hello. Yeah,
Yeah, Satish, what's the doubt?
yeah. Actually, if we have like as you said in the configuration, if we have more than like 10, 15 fields, so while coming to numeric, like when we do the configuration, like salary, if I have 2, 3 fields, then we'll accept. I mean, sorry, will Fiori will give that 2 fields also in the controlling. I mean, in the configuration of numeric.
Yes, yes. It will pop up all those fields. There are multiple, uh, multiple fields related to numeric. That means numeric data. Then it will pop up all the list of fields.
So we
Or
can
if it is,
configure that at the
yes,
same. So it will give. Okay.
it will pop up the list of fields if there are more than one field matching. Are you getting my point?
Right, right. But if we
And
wanted to do both three, four, I mean, like multiple numeric in the same screen,
then that is also possible. So here what we do is, for example, if I'm using object header as a as a screen element, for example, or for example, let us make it simple. I want to use text screen element text property. I want to display multiple OData fields. So that is possible. Here we maintain data binding with multiple OData fields. So XML syntax will allow that. So OData field 1, field 2, field 3, you can maintain here in data binding.
yeah, it's if you're saying like data binding, then it will concatenate all these 3 fields in the same column.
That we can manage it by adding some different things we can manage. But the main, coming back to the first question I'm answering here, we
Okay,
can
okay,
have multiple, we can display the output of multiple OData fields in the single screen element or in a single screen.
okay,
The output of multiple OData fields can be displayed with a single screen element in a single screen. Or you can use different fields with the different screen elements. That is also possible. So anyway, it is possible.
okay. So I mean that I mean like as it's a giving as I said in the object numeric, if the cell I mean say if the quantity it's maybe production quantity or total quantity or how much delivery quantity it will be there. So like that it will be give. It will give in the list, but we can show in a separate columns, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We can display in separate columns or in the same column. In same column, we can display multiple fields. We can display different fields in different columns also. We can display multiple fields in single column, or we can display multiple fields in multiple different columns. All those things we can manage. That's not a big issue.
Okay, because why I asked this doubt, actually while you shown the configuration, it's asking object title, object numeric, object unit of measure in a single configuration, right? So that's why I'm.
Yes, it will ask you to select one of the field, but that the final output? Did I say that's the final output?
No.
No, that's the reason why I'm saying we can reconfigure, we can change that code, and we can add whatever we want. We can display multiple fields in single column through coding. We can display multiple fields in multiple columns also. So because that is just the basic configuration, that is not the final configuration or final output screen.
Okay, so as I said, we can implement this while doing the code in the coding, right?
Exactly.
Not
Yes.
in the
Yes.
coming starting configuration screen. Okay.
In the starting configuration, you have to select only one field.
Okay.
But after the configuration is created, after application is created, you can go into coding and you can make all types of changes to achieve the desired output.
Okay, got it.
So for example, here itself you can see, for example, there's a title with first name here that is reflected. If you closely observe, here, title with first name that is displaying as Satish here, but I want to display two fields side by side, for example. So then we can have multiple fields. Let me check whether it works or not. So here you can see Umesh Sharma, and you can see something like Satish Kumar now. So we can do all types of changes, first name and last name. So by default, through configuration, we are getting first name, but at later point of time, we can make all types of changes.
Okay.
Okay, just now shown you, right? So here,
Yes.
if you want to display first name along with salary field, for example, so you can see now. So Harish and then salary. If you want, you can generate some space, save it, generate some space. Then you can see here, Varun 56,000. So if I select, for example, Satish 88,000. So all those changes, we are going to do it. The only thing is just wait for some more days to understand all these syntaxes. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. Next down. Yeah. What's it down? SCGW is a T code. Here you can press F12. When you press F12, you can go to network section. Here also you can find it. For example, here. Let me reload. So you can get all the details here. Okay, so there will be a lot of details that will be available. Which screen elements are loaded, which views are loaded, everything you can find it here. Okay, there are many options and many sections here. You can go to network icon and you can find it if you want. And if you want, you can apply debugging in the browser itself. So here, CGW or at a browser level, you can use network option and check all the details of OData service. In case of Web ID, at SAP Web ID level, or even in BAS tool, there are different levels. So at BAS level or Web ID level, what you can do is you can go to manifest.json file, or you can go to metadata.xml file. So at browser level, it is network section. But Web ID level, you have to go to manifest.json file if in case the service is already consumed here. You can see, If I go to manifest.json file, which service is consumed, that is registered here, basically. Manifest.json file, the OData services which are consumed, the service name Z8am CRED OData project test service. So whatever consumption has happened, that details will be available. And not only that, which fields are used in this service, what is the entity set available in this service, so that you can get it from metadata.xml file. Here you can see all these things we are going to discuss. So here you can see, you go to metadata.xml file. So then you'll find entity type EMP, and the key field is user ID, and these are the other fields, user ID, first name, last name. So what's the data type, all the list of fields, everything will be available here. They're different levels. So from backend you can get, or from metadata XML file, or from manifest.json file. So all the details will be available. And this is a service name that is available here. Okay, yeah, next down.
Can we consume more than one OData services?
Yeah, Manohar, yes, we can consume. Yes, we can consume more than one OData service in single application. So that is possible. So how can we do that? We'll be doing one example on that. So here, if you right click, you can access n number of OData services here.
Okay.
Okay, there is an option. When you right click, it will allow you to create, new views. It will allow you to access new OData services.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yes,
So yes, we can consume more than one OData service, but real time is one Fiori app will access one OData service which contains all database operations for that application. That is the recommended.
Okay.
This is a real-time recommendation from SAP. We are going to access more than one service also in one application. That example, we are going to do it practically by using this option. Okay, yeah, next down.
Hi,
What is
Vijay.
the significance?
Yeah, what's the doubt?
What is the significance of namespace? We provided the
Namespace is
OSIS,
like,
right?
yeah, namespace is like a separate folder. It's like folder. So when we deploy
And
our
one more-
application, when we deploy app to server will generate a folder with that namespace internally. So by default, you'll get a namespace like this, SAP UI5 underscore UI5 slash SAP. Okay, so this is a default namespace. SAP is a default namespace. Inside that, you can have your application like app 1, app 2, or app 3. But for this app, internally, it contains a folder.
And one more clarification is that when we are binding the data, we have one field like currency, but you provided the country name there.
Where is currency? Currency is not reflected anywhere directly.
When we are providing the data binding, when we are going for.
So here,
That is, I think, unit of measure.
So here, that output, here you can see salaries available. Beside that, there is a country. Basically, if you have currency field in the OData service, then that currency will be reflected here. But as of now, I have configured country, so it is using that. Are you getting my point? If you have currency field in, the backend, then you'll get the currency values here. But in my case, there is no currency field, so I've used country here for unit of measure.
Okay.
Yeah, next down. Yeah, you can unmute and speak now. Is it down?
Yeah,
Unmute and
there.
speak.
So we have few fields like in the select statement. Suppose if we want to add some more fields,
Hmm.
uh, will the added fields automatically reflect, or do we need to change it again?
You mean to say
I
in the
mean this
back end or front end?
no, this OData set, entity set.
OData,
If there are three fields,
OData side,
entity set.
if you add more number of fields, what you need to do is you need to regenerate. You need to regenerate runtime artifacts in the backend.
Okay.
In
One
case,
more question. Yeah.
in case if new fields are added, for that question I'm answering here.
Okay.
You need to regenerate runtime artifacts in the backend in case if new fields are added at later point of time.
Suppose
what's the next down?
if we add the OData service in multiple, if you consume it in multiple screens, can we get a list, where use list kind of thing?
No, that is not possible, but at browser level, you can trace it out. At browser level, you get the complete information in the console.
Okay.
You can get complete view information and OData service information. The only thing is you need to press F12. For that, there is a specific procedure, but generally press F12 and through debugging, you can identify.
Okay.
Through debugging itself, you can identify which screen is accessing which OData service. All those things, you can get it.
Okay. But
We are going
problem
to do
is
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So from different screens, we use different database operations. So from which screen, which database operation is triggered, all those things we can trace it out. Which service is triggered, which database operations is triggered, which entity set is passing the data. So all those things we can get it, those details we can get it at browser level with network and console options. So the debugging also we're going to do it. When we develop a complex example with sending collection of records to backend, so at that level we'll try to do it. When we trigger create deep entity method, when we trigger create deep entity method, we'll send header record plus multiple item record. So in those complex examples, we'll try to add the debugging concept also. And when you insert data or delete data or update data, how data is transferred from front end to back end. So at that time, we can also go for debugging. Yeah, next down.
I want to continue this question that like as she asked the runtime artifacts if we regenerate in the OData service. So do we need to do anything in the front end also if we are adding any extra fields or deleting?
You can what to do if it is a standard application, you have to replace the service. If it is standard application, if it is a custom application, you need to just clear the cache in the front end and in the back end. Standard query app, then you need to have a replace option. Replace OData service, because in the OData in the backend also, when you add some fields, basically we'll try to redefine the standard OData service for adding the new fields. At that level, we have to use a replace option in the front end. And clear cache from both systems. That means there will be an option like backend system and gateway system. So this is what we need to do.
Vijay, what we need to do if the standard query application is extended one? So we need to add some custom feature to the standard query. At that time, how?
Means you are just changing that only text changes or field changes? What exactly you are trying to do?
Some additional functionality if we want to add to it.
No, additional functionality is okay. Additional functionality may be adding a text change or adding a field from backend to the front end. What exactly it is?
Okay, if it is adding a new field to the existing one.
In case if the new field is added in the backend OData service, that service has to be reconfigured for the standard query app by using a replace option. So here, when you are dealing with standard applications, you'll get some options like this one, extension project. We have to create an extension project. After creating extension project, we have to create an extension, and extensions will be of different types. Extension of a view, extension of OData service, extension of a controller, or extension of properties file. So there are different types of extensions.
Okay.
For standard project in the front end, we create extension project. For that extension project, we have to create an extension, and extensions will be of different types. So depending upon that requirement, you have to decide. So here, extensions, different types of extensions here, like extending view or extending controller or extending OData service or extending properties file. Different options will be available. So if you want to, if the backend fields has to be reflected in the front end standard query project, then create an extension by extending OData service in the front end through this extension option.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Unmuted.
Standard, if you want to make changes in standard projects, first you need to understand all the custom application development. Once after custom application development is available, if you have that knowledge, then we can go to the next level of enhancing the standard projects. In extensions, extension projects, enhancement, these are very common. Okay, that's part of the syllabus. But directly without UI5 framework, without query development, you don't understand what is query enhancements. Query enhancements comes at the last in our training. Why? Because when you want to enhance a project, you need to know OData development, you need to know UI5 framework, you need to understand the templates, you need to understand query application custom development. Then enhancements becomes very easy. Directly enhancing a project, that is not possible without knowing all these basics. Okay, yeah. You need to know XML syntax, you need to know scripting syntax, you need to know OData service development, and you need to know UI5 framework libraries, access, etc. All these things you need to know before going for extension and extending a project. And query templates. Then comes enhancements. Because enhancements is dependent on a lot of other topics like this. Okay. So it will be covered at the end of the course, no need to worry. Because of dependency, it will come at the end. Yeah, next down.
Hi Vijay, Lakshman here. Like a program, copy, like let's say I have a one custom program, sorry, standard program. I can copy and make my own custom version with my own changes. So can we do the similar way? Like if I take a standard Fiori application, copy it to a custom one and do my enhancement? Like,
Yes, of
is there any
course.
possibility? Okay.
Generally, we don't do like that. Front end side, we don't copy. In front end side, for the existing standard project itself, we create this extension project. Extension project is nothing but a copy of the existing standard project.
Okay. Got it. The reason I asked this question is because we have one requirement from a business, like in an SAP standard Fiori application. Let's say for the customer clearing, the SAP standard application has a few fields, like a or you can say company code, customer number, something like that. But they want a document number also to be part of a filtering criteria in the initial screen. So the best way, as my understanding is now, we can create a extension for that standard application. We can do our.
So first,
changes.
what we need to do is, in workspace, you have to import that standard application. Which application you want to enhance? First, import that application from ABAP repository. So, so here it will connect to that server, repository server through EH7. It will connect to that repository. In that repository, there are standard applications in Fiori, custom applications, everything will be reflected here. Okay. So after importing this entire app, after importing the app, say suppose there is a purchase order app. After importing that app, then right click and then we have to create an extension project. So that is technically we are maintaining a copy of that existing project. Okay. So basically when we go for enhancements, first import the standard Fiori application source code into SAP Web ID or Bastol, whatever. After that, we are going to create an extension project for that standard Fiori app. And then we create extensions depending upon requirement. This is a basic procedure. Simple words, this is a procedure. But in extension, there are different types. Extension of a view, extension of controller, extension of OData service, extension of properties file, several things.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you.
Don't worry about enhancements now, because right now you are not eligible for thinking about enhancements. Enhancements you will understand only after completing all these topics. Complete XML syntax, scripting syntax, OData, UI5 framework, Fiori app, custom development, then enhancement becomes very simple. Then you can understand what exactly I'm speaking now. Yeah, any other doubt? So here you can see in our syllabus also, that is available at the end of this syllabus sheet somewhere here. If you go to course content, in Fiori topics, it will be at the end. Within Fiori topics, you go to the end, there will be enhancements under SAP Fiori standard apps. Like for example, purchase order Fiori app, manage products Fiori app, shopping cart Fiori apps. So whatever may be the app, but ultimately you need to understand all the basics first. Then we can go for extension projects and extensions where you can make changes in the standard projects. Okay.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, then I'll stop here. In the next session tomorrow, we'll start writing the code. We'll develop the screens. We'll create some forms with screen elements. Tomorrow, we'll create a simple form with labels and several screen elements. That will be the next topic. Tomorrow, we'll discuss that. We'll start writing the code.
Sir, Jitendra here, sir.
What's it down?
Sir, if local web ID is not working, so is there any other way, to do the practice?
No, the only thing is, in your case, if it is not working, just through trial and error method, try this JDK7, JDK8, JDK9 also you try. But each time when you try it, restart the system and then try like that. Because SAP Web ID is dependent on JDK. Without JDK, it's not possible. So first you need to install JDK7, then install Web ID. If it is working, it's okay. If it is not working, then try different versions. One of the version will work because it also depends on the operating system. If you are using Windows 11, then JDK9 may work. On Windows 10, JDK7 and JDK8 will work, basically. Try different options once again.
Okay. Okay, I'll try different options again.
Okay, JDK7, 8, 9, try different option. I think there will be, definitely you'll see that Web ID screen.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll stop here. In the next session tomorrow, we'll discuss the coding part, the syntax, etc. Okay.
Sure. Thank you.